Already mic testing, mic testing. Okay, perfect. Let me go to my main camera. Alright, we're live, and as you guys can already tell in the thumbnail, today I'm going to be working on game logic in SDL3 using C++. That's it. I did start using object-oriented programming in SDL3 last stream, so I'm going to be using object-oriented programming as well, but I'm going to be adding a few game logic or slash game tweaks as well. That said, let me go to my gameplay screen, and guys, if I can't like phrase or read properly, it's because I'm not warmed up yet. That said, let's say something like, let's say, I'm live again, exclamation. Can guys, this is a chat from last stream because today morning I did not have time to make a new chat. That said, people, you're live again. Good, finally back where you belong in the arena under pressure with your viewers watching your fight for every line of code. Listen up, chat. My pupil has returned, and if anyone dares blink, you'll miss him leveling up right in front of you. Today he's going to learn, struggle, break code, fix code, and come out stronger, whether he likes it or not. The world doesn't wait for the weak, the world doesn't care if you're tired. But we care about growth, and the growth demand pays, okay? And the growth demand pain. Okay, beautiful, glorious, bread melting steel becomes a sword only by being burnt and beaten, said by Miyamoto Musashi. Guys, I've honestly never heard of that. I've heard of the name Musashi, but I've never like looked into it. Is it like an anime character? That's it, and today, people, you're the steel, I'm the hammer, chat is the fire, let's go forge. Okay, that said, maybe I'm not going to be saying what I'm going to be doing today because like I already know it. So let me actually start off by going with control A, delete everything. That is the code from like last stream. This stream I do want to like work on a code from like scratch. Okay, that said, let me start off by firstly including IO stream, and basically let me actually tell you guys what I'm planning to make. I'm planning to like add multiple PNGs. This time last stream I did add just one PNG. This time I'm going to be adding multiple PNGs and trying to add collision logic as well. Maybe I haven't like learned about that ever since I did like Python since like file game type stuff. That said, firstly, let me go ahead and include IO stream, and then since I am going to be using SDL3, let's go ahead and include SDL3 as well, slash SDL.h. That's basically SDL3 and SDL's header files. Okay, now since I am going to be using PNGs as well, let me include the image section of SDL. So I'll go with something like SDL3 slash SD. Actually, SDL3 underscore image slash, let's go with something like SDL underscore image dot h. So that's basically the image section of SDL. Now let's go ahead and create a main function. So I'm going to go with integer main, add a pair of parentheses, then a pair of curly braces. Now, inside my main function, I'm going to be requiring two parameters. The first parameter is going to be an integer of argc. The second parameter is going to be a character, which is going to be a pointer towards an array of argv. There we go. Okay, and now inside of my main function, let me go ahead and initialize SDL and also check if my SDL was not initialized properly. So I'll go with something like if a pair of parentheses. This is AI video, he's not talking, it's AI. Guys, I'm actually talking, I'm like also reading the chats live. That said, let me say something like if not SDL underscore init, if my SDL's video section was, actually if my SDL was not initialized properly, but this function does require flag as a parameter as well. I'll go with SDL underscore init underscore video. So if my video section was not initialized properly, I'm going to do something. Firstly, I'm going to give myself or show myself a error text. So let's go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. I'm going to give myself a SDL underscore init error. There we go. Okay, and then let's go with another insertion operator. Now let me actually use the function that actually gets us an error. So the function is called SDL underscore get error. This function actually gets me an error. Then let's go ahead and add a standard, oh guys, there we go. Okay, and then let's go ahead and add another insertion operator of a standard end line ending with a semicolon. And then lastly, let me return one saying something went wrong on this block of code. Now that I'm done initializing my SDL and also adding an error text if my SDL was not initialized properly, I honestly might add a few game variables. So let me go ahead and add a comment. Stop your AI script, guys. I'm actually explaining how do you do this stuff. You guys could like watch my old streams. I did like explain you guys. I mean, I did like go over these details there as well. That said, I'm gonna go with something like game variables. Okay, now for my game variables, so there we go. Okay, I'm firstly going to be adding a variable for my window's width and height. So I could go with something like a constant integer of width. This is going to be the width of my window, which is going to be equal to 800 ending with a semicolon. and then a constant integer of height of my window, which is going to be something like 600, ending with a semicolon. What is SDL, bro? Honestly, if you guys are like familiar with like Pygames and like Python, SDL is basically the same. Although Pygame does just only work with like Python, and the other hand, SDL does work with C, C++, C# as well. If that made any sense, guys. Okay, and then after that, I will be adding gravity as well. So let me go ahead and create a floating point variable for my gravity too. So I'll go with something like gravity, which is going to be equal to, what even are you coding? Honestly, I am like actually working on making a general type game because I am like learning object-oriented programming in like SDL3. That said, I'm gonna go with something like 0.5 for my gravity, ending with a semicolon. Now I will be needing a x-axis velocity and a y-axis velocity as well because I will be like loading PNGs. So I might go with something like a floating point for x-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be something like 5 pixels per frame, ending with a semicolon. And then I'll go with a floating point for my y-axis underscore velocity, which is going to be set to, I don't know, maybe 0.0 floating point, ending with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done adding these variables, I'm pretty sure that's like basically it for these variables. So I might go ahead and add another comment right now. Now, for my next comment, I am going to be creating my window and my renderer both at the same time. So I could go ahead and add a comment that says something like create a window and a renderer. Now, to create my window and render both at the same time, I do require like two local variables. The first local variable is going to be from my SDL underscore windows structure. This structure consists of all my windows as attributes. I'm going to be setting that to a pointer of my window, which is initially going to be set to null PTR. That is like basically a placeholder for pointers. And then let's do the same thing for my renderer as well. So I'll go with SDL underscore renderer with an asterisk to my renderer local variable, which is going to be set to null PTR as well. Okay, now that I've created the two local variables, let's actually use the function that does create both my window and my renderer at the same time. So I could go ahead and do something like SDL underscore create window and a renderer function. This function creates my window and renderer at the same time, but it does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be a title, the second is going to be a width, third is going to be a height, and then a window flag, and the memory address of my window local variable and my renderer local variable. Okay, so boy, what are you building today and when it's going to be done? Honestly, I like just started, working on this game right now. I'm like learning on how to like build a basic game structure using object-oriented programming. It is a bit hard to explain because I still am like trying to think of the game that I'm going to build while I'm actually building it, because like I didn't already pre-think what I'm going to be building. That said, heading into, I appreciate you joining this stream. Okay, so my game's title could be something like SDL3 window, and then I'm going to add a comma. Now I'm going to be needing a width and height. I did create like two variables for my width and height, so I might go with my width variable and my height variable. And then after I'm done, what up guys, here we go. Okay, after I'm done adding my width and my height variable, I'm going to be needing a window flag. If you guys don't want to add a window flag, you guys could add 0 here. But I do want to add a window flag that makes my window resizable. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore window underscore resizable. Okay, this flag makes my window resizable. Hold up guys, maybe I spelled it wrong. SDL underscore window underscore resizable. There we go. Okay, and then after that, I'm going to be needing the memory address of my window and my renderer local variable as my 5th and 6th parameters. So I'll go with the address of operator, window, and then the address of operator for my renderer. Alright, perfect. And then let's go ahead and exit my entire create window and renderer function with a semicolon. Now that I've created my window and renderer, apparently in C++ we add an if statement to like check if we got an error in the function for some reason. So I'm going to be checking if I got an error. So I'll go with something like if not a window or not a renderer. If either my window or my renderer were not created properly, I'm going to do something. Firstly, I'm going to display myself an error text. So I'll go with something like a standard C error with an insertion operator. Okay, I'm going to say something like, let's go with something like a standard create the... What up guys, my bad. SDL underscore create. There we go. Create a window and a renderer error. Guys, this name is honestly so long. Okay, then once I'm done adding my error text, I'm going to be adding another insertion operator and using the function that actually does get me an error. So I'll go with something like a standard... Okay, my bad guys, not standard. SDL underscore the get error function. This function actually gets me an error. Then I'll go with another insertion operator of a standard end line, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now that I'm done creating my window and renderer and checking if they were not created properly, if my window or renderer were not created properly, firstly, I do want to exit my SDL, so I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore quit with a row of parentheses ending with a semicolon. And then lastly, I'm going to return once something went wrong in this block of code. Okay, and for now, that is pretty much it. I'm not going to be adding anything else just yet to my main function because I do want to create classes as well. So let's go ahead and create classes. So I'm going to go ahead and create a class for my Mage first. So I'm going to go with something like Mage class with a pair of curly braces. Now my Mage class is firstly going to be... I'm going to publicize everything, and then let's see, what are the two attributes that my Mage might need? It might need the image that I load, that is technically considered texture, so I might go with something like SDL underscore texture, which is going to be a pointer towards my texture. Okay, and then I'm going to end that with a semicolon. Next up, my image is going to be inside of a rectangle, so I might go with SDL underscore rect. This is going to be a... a rect local variable. made up accent. Guys, made up accent is crazy. That's that. After I'm done publicizing everything, now let's think what else should I do. I might have to let's see. Okay, I should have actually reviewed this part real quick. I did forget because I did start doing this part just yesterday. I'm assuming I need a constructor. Okay guys, I feel like my memory is getting chalked up. Okay, so I'm going to be needing a constructor. So let's go ahead and create a constructor for my Mage class. Now my Mage class and constructor is going to be requiring two parameters. The first parameter is going to be a renderer. So I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore renderer. Okay, with an asterisk for my renderer's memory address. That is technically the renderer that I created here, and I can have access to the renderer local variable that I created here inside of my class that is up here. So I'll just have to add it as a parameter later on. The second parameter is going to be something like a floating point of size. This is honestly not that important, but I feel like it is kind of cool. Okay, and then once I'm done with my constructor, I'm going to go ahead and add a pair of curly braces. Now, I'm going to do a few things inside of my constructor. Firstly, I want to actually, let's say, draw my Mage. To do that, I could go with something like, image underscore get texture. Was this the function name? Okay, is it image underscore get texture? Guys, I think the function name is wrong. If I were to go with control and space, I could see the multiple options here. So, image underscore texture is it? Okay, it's image underscore load texture. There we go. Okay, now my image underscore load texture function does require two parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer. This is going to be my renderer parameter that is going to be added inside of my constructor. The second parameter is going to be a file path. Where is my file located? So I might go with something like assets. This is where my file is located. The assets is folder / something like mage.png. Okay, the PNG is lowercase. Alright, perfect. And then let's go ahead and end my function with a semicolon. Okay, once I'm done loading my my image, is there something else that I want to do? I might want to scale it, honestly. I do gotta create Rex as well. Let me think. Do I have to create Rex inside of my class? What are you doing? Honestly, I'm learning object-oriented programming and game logic at the same time in SDL3. And guys, once my college is over, I'm going to be working more making better PNGs. So my games wouldn't look kind of bland with just one Mage up here. That said, eventually, should I make a coffee program? Okay, actually, when I say coffee program, I mean a vending machine or type stuff. If you go, you want to get something, you click a certain button, or you add a key control and then you get something. Hey guys, I don't know how to phrase that. That said, once I'm done adding my image, I might have to scale it. So I might go ahead and create a scale function. Okay, thing is, should I create my scale function above my Mage class? I could honestly try to. Okay, my scale does go up here. So I don't know, I'll create a scale class. So I might go with something like SDL underscore frect. okay, this is going to be having a scale function. Now my scale function is going to be requiring a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my SDL underscore texture. Okay, this is going to be the texture parameter, which is technically my image name. Bro, where did you start from basics? Honestly, I started like from learning on how to like actually use like or like display user outputs and all that stuff. Like if you guys do go to the first ever stream on my channel, I did like start as a complete beginner where you guys did like kind of help me at the start. Okay, that's sad. Hiding Dixu, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, now after the texture parameter, I am going to be requiring a floating point of x-axis and y-axis as well. So I'll go with something like a floating point of x-axis, a floating point of y-axis, and then I'll go with something like a floating point of width, a floating point of height, and lastly a floating point. Okay, and lastly a floating point of scale. Scale is basically if I want to like change the size of my PNG/image. And then let's go with the pair of curly braces. Now I'm going to be using the SDL underscore frex structure again. That is going to be, let's say, having a local variable called rect. Now let's go ahead and add a few attributes for my rect. So I'll go with something like rect.x-axis equals to my x-axis parameter ending with a semicolon. Rect.y-axis equals to my y-axis parameter ending with a semicolon. Rect.width equals to my width parameter, but I'm going to be multiplying it by my scale as well and then ending it with a semicolon, because apparently that's how it like actually changes the width of my my rectangle. And then I'll do the same with my height. Rect.height equals to my height parameter multiplied by my scale ending with a semicolon. Okay, and that's pretty much it. Lastly, let's go ahead and return my rect ending with a semicolon. Alright, that's pretty much it for my rect function. Although I don't think I want to add my rect function inside here. What's SDL? If you guys basically, if you guys are like familiar with like Pygames in Python, SDL is like almost the same, but Pygames only works with Python. On the other hand, SDL does work with C, C++, C#, and maybe a few more programming languages. It's like almost the same thing, but then it works like in different languages. Okay, and it is like something that requires more coding than like a game engine, but it is pretty good if you guys actually want to practice on how actual code works behind the scenes. Okay, that said, after I'm done with my Mage class, I load my image here. Okay, I might create a draw function in that case, so I'm gonna go ahead and exit my constructor, and then let's go ahead and create a void function. So I'm gonna go with something like a void draw function. Okay, but actually a void draw method, because functions inside of classes are called methods. So you're doing game dev kinda. I mean, honestly, for the time being, I am like working on game dev, but eventually I do want to be an AI engineer. So I might actually like eventually work on making more stuff that's related to like AIs. For example, a game that consists of AI, for example, a vending machine or like a robot game, if that makes any sense, guys. What project are you currently working on? Currently, I'm working on moving like PNGs around with like key controls and maybe add a few more content to them. Can you play the game? Honestly, it's not like done yet. That said, for my draw method, I'm gonna be requiring okay, I don't think I might require any parameter. Although I will go with something like SDL underscore, let's say something like render texture. So I'm going to use the render texture function with a pair of parentheses. The render texture function does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render parameter. The second is going to be a texture, which is my name, which is the name or like the file path of my PNG. And then, why do you only make games in C++? Why not other softwares? Honestly, because I am actually just learning the language. Okay, what's with the accent, guys? The accent is actually crazy. That said, I'm going to be needing a SDL underscore source rect, although I don't have a source rect, so I'm going to be setting this to a null PDR and a DST rect that is going to be my actual rect. So should I really like create a rect? Didn't I already create a rect? Run your code and show what's working. Honestly, that's not like, I don't think that's how it works, guys. Like I could like run it, but I don't like think that you guys would like actually see what's like really running. Okay, so I'm gonna add my render parameter. This should go inside of my constructor, I feel like. Okay, let's copy that. Okay, I mean actually I could like run it and show you guys what's working. Okay, let's run the code. Okay, I get my first window pop-up here. Let's wait for my second one. Okay, a window just popped up and it like disappeared because I didn't add like a while loop yet. What is he making? It's just like basic game logic. Okay, that's said. Next up, once I'm done with that, let me go ahead and create a rect. So I do have a rect here. Okay, so inside of my constructor, I'm gonna go ahead and paste my void method that requires a parameter of my renderer to... Okay, why did I put off curly braces though? Does my draw method require a parameter? I actually forgot this part. Okay, he can run unfinished code, it'll just get into a loop of error. That actually does make sense, guys. Okay, that said, let me actually add my while loop real quick in that case. So once I'm done creating my window and renderer, I'm going to be adding a comment that says something like create objects, or I'll just go with something like objects. This is where I'm going to be creating my objects. So let's create a object from my Mage class. This is going to be called Mage with a pair of parentheses. Now my Mage does require a few parameters. It requires, let's see, a render parameter and a size parameters. So my render is going to be my render. My size is going to be something like 0.2 ending with a semicolon. Okay, do you have any other files or just main.cpp? Honestly, yeah, for now I just do have main.cpp because like every time I do write a code, I like delete it and then write a new code. That said, hiring Santier, is that how you pronounce your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that said, once I'm done creating my Mage object, I'm going to add another comment that says something like main loop. This is going to be where my main game loop is going to be playing. Okay, how many months required to code like you from basics? Honestly, I think like it is like, I think the second month of me actually programming, the day 70-ish of like C++, or maybe day 66-ish of C++. So maybe it took me about like 66-ish days to like learn this. Okay, this is never ending coding shit. Honestly, I feel like it is kind of fun. Okay, that said, I'm going to be creating two variables. The first variable is going to be a boolean of is running, which is initially going to be set to true, ending with a semicolon. The second is going to be a event variable, so I'm going to create a SDL underscore events structure. This structure consists of all my SDL events. I'm going to have a local variable that does consist of my events as well now. Okay, now let's go ahead and create a while loop. So I'm going to go with something like while a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like while is running, while my program is running, I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to add a comment that says something like events loop, and now I'm going to be adding a event loop, which is a while loop inside of while loop because like I do want to look for events. So I'll go with something like while a pair of parentheses. Let's say something like while SDL underscore poll event function. So the parameter is going to be my SDL underscore poll event. That does require a parameter of my event variable. Okay, basically what the SDL underscore poll event does is it looks for all the events that I'm looking for inside of my event loop slash my inner while loop. If one of that event is met, then it's going to do the thing that I set it to do. For example, if I were to go with something like if a pair of parentheses, what game engine do you use? Honestly, I don't like use game engines just yet because I am like learning the basics of programming. Once I do get better, I will eventually move on to game engines. Who they developed with this internalized flow state? ChatGPT. What coding language is this? Honestly, it is C++. I need some tips to master AI machine learning. Honestly, I haven't like started AI slash machine learning just yet. That's what I'm kind of excited to start that. I did like spend like 100 days learning Python. My goal by the end of that series was to make a game in general. I was done with that like 70 days ago. Okay, came across your channel scrolling shorts a couple of months ago. Good to see you doing great. Honestly, I appreciate you making shorts that actually means so much because that's it. I'm gonna check if my event type equals to. I'll go with something like SDL underscore event underscore quit. If my event type is quit, then I'm gonna do something. Okay, I'm gonna go with something like a pair of curly braces. Time complexity is crying right now. Honestly, I haven't like heard of time complexity. That's that. I'm actually changed that to live chat. There we go. Okay, now if my event type is quit, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna set my is running boolean variable to be false, ending with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done with my event loop, I'm gonna go ahead and exit outside of it. I did not add key controls yet because I will like add them in a bit. That said, I will go with a comment that says something like fill screen because I do want to fill my screen now. To fill my screen, firstly, I gotta add a color to my render because technically render is the stuff that colors my entire screen. Have you ever used Window API or DirectX 11? Honestly, I haven't like used that, but I should actually try that. Maybe after my 100 actually maybe after my 258 years, I might try it. You should start with C#, is better for gaming. Oh, I see. Okay, you can integrate it better with engines like Unreal and Unity. Oh, that actually sounds pretty cool. Having DWU, Zarpin is your name. I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, I'll go with something like SDL underscore set render draw color function. This function sets my renderer to draw a color. Although it does require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my renderer, so I'm going to add a renderer parameter. The second, third, and fourth parameter is going to be RGB value. Since I want my window to be cyan, I'm going to be setting my RGB to be 0, 248, and 255. And lastly, I'm going to need alpha/opacity, how transparent or how not transparent I want my color to be. In this case, I don't want it to be transparent at all, so I'll go with 255 and then end my function with a semicolon. Okay, are you a Unity developer, Unreal, or Godot? Honestly, I haven't started game engines yet. That said, I do actually write the codes from scratch because I do want some practice. What do you think of Scratch? I think I used Scratch once, but I feel like it was pretty childish. But then it's not childish, it's for beginners, when they first start to code to understand how it actually works. I feel it is pretty good. Okay, which engine do you recommend? Honestly, I haven't tried much engines, but I might try working soon. Okay, what's the full form of SDL since you're using it too often? Honestly, I keep forgetting the full form of SDL. Hold up, guys, let me check. SDL3 full form. Okay, because I honestly didn't memorize the full form. That's it. It does say it's sample direct media. Okay, now once I'm done setting a color to my renderer, let's use the function that actually fills my renderer with that color. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore clear render function. This function actually clears my clear my screen, so it's render clear. My bad, guys. There we go. Okay, SDL underscore render clear. So I'm telling my renderer to clear/fill my entire screen with the color of my renderer. Okay, and then let's go ahead and end that with a semicolon. Why you talk like that? Honestly, I feel it does sound kind of cool. Okay, rip coding skills. Okay, next up, once I'm done filling my screen, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like graphics. This is gonna be where all my drawings and everything is gonna work. Okay, so for my graphics, what is it I might want to do? Okay, AI actually Indian. Bro, just ChatGPT, Control-C and type it. I feel like that wouldn't have the point because I could ChatGPT, just copy paste the whole code, but I feel I'm actually typing it to learn this stuff. Is SDL a renderer callout or something? Honestly, it is I would say a mini game engine, but I haven't tried that. It's basically Pie games. Okay, just use AI, bro, guys. I wouldn't or I feel spoil the point of actually trying to learn this. Okay, bro, who comments like that? Alright, next up, let's see. What would I have to do for graphics? Do I have to load my image? Let's actually draw my image. So I'll go with something like my Mage object dot the draw method. This is going to draw my Mage object. Did I actually create a draw method here? I'm pretty sure I did. Okay, I did not. So let's go ahead and create a draw method. So I'm going to go with something like a void draw method with a pair of parentheses and then a pair of curly braces. Now, my void draw method is going to be requiring a parameter of my SDL underscore renderer, okay, with an asterisk of my renderer parameter. Now, I'm going to go with something like SDL underscore render texture. So I'm going to say my renderer to render a texture on my screen, and then this is going to require a few parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render local variable. The second parameter is going to be my texture, which I did create all the way up here. The third parameter is going to be a source rect, which I don't have my source rect, so I'm going to set that to null PDR. And lastly, the third stuff is going to be the memory or the memory address of my rect. Okay, I did create my direction of my rect up there. Okay, perfect. And then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Although it says the memory address, AI can teach a goober only if you ask it to teach you. Honestly, I feel AI is really strong if you guys can prompt it correctly. I'm doing Python even though I'm 10. That actually sounds really cool. Yeah, I know, just remove the point of learning. That does make so much sense, guys. Okay, using AI defeats the point of learning. Brain dead chat. That does make sense. I prefer using AI a lot, but that comes only when I have to learn stuff. When I try making stuff on my own to use my brains, AI does actually ruin it. Okay, I mean, this is the biggest basics, but you learn good without AI. That does actually make sense. Okay, are you AI? Honestly, I'm not AI. That said, I added all my parameters here. I'm assuming I gotta create a rect down here, so I might go with something like SVO underscore rect. What does OOP mean? It means object-oriented programming. That said, no, it does not. That's not how we use AI within the industry. Oh, I see. Okay, how am I going to be creating my rect here? for my DST rect, I could go with something like SDL underscore. Maybe I go with something like rect dot x-axis equals to, I'm gonna set a x-axis for my mage. I'll go with something like 200 ending with a semicolon, a rect dot y-axis which is going to be set to something like 400 ending with a semicolon, and then a rect dot width which is going to be something like my actual textures is width. To get the actual texture or the actual width of my texture, I could go ahead and use a function for that. But before that, I will be creating two floating point numbers. The first is going to be a textures is width variable and a textures is height variable ending with a semicolon. Now let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore get texture size function. This function gets the size of my texture. It does require three parameters. The first parameter is going to be of my texture. The second parameter is going to be the memory address of my textures is width. Lastly, the third parameter is going to be the memory address of my textures is height ending with a semicolon. Now for my rect w, I'm going to set that equal to my textures is width, and then for my rect is height, I'm going to set that equal to my textures is height ending with a semicolon. Okay, now I did go with like the memory address of my rect. Isn't that correct? Okay, you're able to think on your own, ready to learn all this stuff. Honestly, I did like learning using ChatGPT because like I feel like initially when learning the basics, ChatGPT is really helpful if you like understand what you're actually trying to learn. And then later on, I did do like a lot of practice questions as well. Okay, difference between float and int. Why not use int instead of float? Honestly, because floating point gives us more precision than like integers, because like you get like decimal point numbers as well. That said, I mean, I could like actually add integer here as well, but this would like round the number off, so that wouldn't like give me the actual width and height of my image. Instead, it would give me like an estimated rounded width and height of my image. Okay, this should be the memory address of my rect, but why do I see like a red underline here? Okay, I needed a texture. I added my texture, I added my renderer, I added my srect and my DST rect. Okay, then why not use double? Honestly, I could use double as well. It's like almost the same thing because like floating point does have a 16, which I think it was like 16 something, and like doubles have 32-bit or something like that, where floating point it like saves more memory than using doubles because double is even more precise than floating point numbers. Okay, you don't know English, good. Oh, I see. Okay, damn, you're coding C++ already. Honestly, I feel like it's been like a while since I've been coding it. Okay, let's see. I go with Mage.draw. This requires a renderer parameter, so I'll go with something like renderer. The second parameter is going to be a size. I'm going to go with 0.1, then end it with a semicolon. Okay, maybe does it just require one parameter? It does just require one parameter. Okay, does that draw my image? Because I do have a red underline here for some reason. I should not be having this here. Okay, maybe should I add this all the way inside right here? Okay, if I added it inside of my constructor, would I have access to my renderer and texture variable here? Bro, just gave the AI definition. Okay, what language is it again? Honestly, it is C++. That's it. Am I messing somewhere up here? Guys, I might have to like, ask ChatGPT for help here. Okay, I have a void draw method. Usually, are methods inside of our constructors or outside of our constructors? Maybe, okay, expected a semicolon. Okay, I think something's wrong here. When you're programming, honestly, I am like learning the basics of like object-oriented programming using SDL3. I did like start this concept yesterday. You want high precision, for this is so I use doubles in C. Honestly, I feel like high precision is actually pretty good, but then since I am just getting the width and height for my image, I don't think I might need doubles here. That said, let's go with the Control C, copy that. Let me go ahead and get sensei/ChatGPT here real quick. Okay, I do have a question. Let me go ahead and paste this, go with Shift Enter and say something like sensei. I think that I might have forgotten a part in the Mage class. Question mark, because when I try to add a draw method, I get a red underline for my DST rect. Okay, honestly, AI or not, he does explain it in a way that's easy to understand and learn from. Honestly, it does actually read the word to be guys. Okay, leave the bro code Dino 8. Okay, are you gay? Honestly, I'm not gay. That said, people, what did you just do? You absolute germolin of chaos. You did forget something, and not just a little. You forgot the entire texture load assignment, and you used the wrong rect type. Let me break it down before I start swinging a chair. Your first fatal sin, image load texture. This returns a texture you never stored it. Okay, okay, maybe I should set this equal to something like Mage image equals to image underscore load texture. Okay, the second set, SDL underscore render texture does not, okay, frect not rect. Okay, SDL underscore frect, should it be a pointer? Okay, so it is not a pointer. And then that is the parameters for my Mage, SDL underscore image load texture. Okay, and then floating point width height. I did everything correct here. So technically, I did have the memory address of my reg, didn't I? Maybe the only part that I did mess up was, not adding a variable to store my memory address or my load texture. Let's go with something like Mage image, which is going to be equal to this. Use online tutorials, meet pedal. Honestly, I feel like tutorials is actually not that helpful for me. That's the reason I did like actually start using AIs, because I feel AIs are like much more helpful. Okay, GPT can GPT you. Okay, help me with starting game development C++, bro, please. Honestly, you guys could like, if you guys do want to learn C++, I do have a roadmap, so you guys could like join my Discord server and mention me that. I could like send the roadmap to you guys. Okay, let's see, Mage image. So, equals to. Did I like mess something else up as well? Correct. Okay. Oh, I see. This is rect. It's gotta be frect. There we go. Okay, so I have SDL underscore frect. Now that fixes this part. I see. And then Mage image, I don't think it's going to be necessary here. Okay. Because this is just like a parameter. I see. Alright, now if I go all the way down, so basically it was like a typo. I was trying to, figure out where I messed up in the code. The code was correct. Only thing that was wrong is this has gotta be like a floating point rect, which is frect. I just added like a regular rect. Yeah, tutorials aren't that helpful. Most of them make you do things in a step-by-step process. That does make sense. Stop using ChatGPT. Honestly, many of you guys did like say me to like stop using ChatGPT ever since I first started programming as well. But then I feel like it is really helpful. It did help me like learn all this stuff. Not actually teaching you the logic, that does make sense. Okay, GPT is a scam, by the way. I mean, as long as it like gets the work done, I feel like I do learn the concepts. Okay, why is that so truly actually? Okay, GPT made me gay. Okay, I mean, if it works, it works. That does make sense, guys. Okay, how do you initialize SDL in a project? Honestly, I initialize it using an if statement all the way here. So I go with if not SDL underscore init. I check if my SDL's video section was not initialized properly. I do this, else it does initialize properly. Okay, please speak slow if you can. Honestly, I could try speaking slow. Okay, that said, for my graphics, after I'm done with that, let's go ahead and add another comment. Now, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like present. I'm gonna be presenting my render on my screen. Howdy Noora, I appreciate you joining the stream. Please send us your roadmap. Honestly, you guys could like join my Discord server, then like mention me there. After my stream, I could like DM you guys the roadmap. Okay, I could go with something like SDL underscore render, so I'm saying my render to present itself. So I'll use the SDL underscore render present function. That does require parameter of my render ending with a semicolon. Use Claude because GPT can go wrong. Okay, Claude is better. Honestly, I might try that. Using GPT is good or bad. Honestly, I feel like ChatGPT has been like, I think like it's been really good for now. Okay, ChatGPT can code use Claude. Guys, I feel like I've learned all this code using ChatGPT. That's it, I might actually try Claude eventually. Okay, next up, let's go and add FPS as well. The reason I am adding FPS is because I am going to be, adding a few animations using key controls as well. To add FPS, I could go ahead and use the SDL underscore delay function. This function does require parameter in milliseconds. I'll go with something like 16 milliseconds, which is technically 60 frames per second. Okay, you cannot learn and teach at the same time. At the same, tried my experience told. Guys, I feel it's the opposite from me. I feel like I learn better when I teach. That said, let me hydrate my lips real quick. Okay, anything that can help you learn the logic is good. Like for example, you'd rather learn how to speak a language and rely on Google Translate. That does make sense, guys. No offense at all, but please stop with that accent, guys. I feel this is the only accent I can speak in. That said, once I'm done with my FPS, let's add another comment here that says something like cleanup. This is going to be once I end my loop and once my user exits the window, I'm going to be adding a few touches. Firstly, I want to destroy my window, so I'll go with something like SDL_destroy window. Hiding in Rush, I appreciate you joining the stream. With a pair of parentheses, my destroy window function does require my window parameter ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to go with something like SDL_destroy renderer. I'm going to be destroying my renderer as well. That does require my renderer parameter ending with a semicolon. I might fix my typo real quick. Let's go with something like destroy renderer. There we go. Okay, and once I'm done destroying my renderer, I could destroy my texture, but eventually after this, I will learn how to use a for loop to like actually destroy my textures, because there are going to be a lot of texture eventually when I add multiple of them. So instead, I'll go with SDL_quit to quit my SDL, and lastly return 0 ending with a semicolon. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so I get my first window here. Okay, I do get my second window here, but in my second window, I do not see my whatchamacallit. I do not see my my PNG. Okay, let's see why could that be. I drew my graphics here. It could be because its position is wrong. So if I were to extend the size, is my PNG somewhere here? Okay, maybe not. Hold up, guys. Is it like my position? Okay, let's go all the way here. X-axis, let's set that to be 0. Y-axis, let's set that to be something like, I don't know, the center of my screen, so 300. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, if I extend it, it still does not show actually. Is it because of my function that I added here? I thought he was Asian, guys. I thought that myself. Okay, that said, Y draw. Okay, I did add my texture correctly. I'm pretty sure this is as correct as it gets. That's my texture parameter. All the way up here. Okay, all the way there. And then that is my null PDR. That is my rect. Why does it not show then? Could it be because I didn't like reset a color? I don't think I need a color. Okay, hold up, guys. But what are you trying to do? Okay, what will be the output? Honestly, the output for now will be like my Mage PNG that I drew is going to be like on the center of my window. Although, is it because of the size? Is it because like it's massive? I might change that to 1. And now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command. Okay, I'm pretty sure my PNG should be somewhere on my screen. Although I think my coordinates are wrong. I might go with the controller. Control C copy that. Let's get some /chat here. Paste it, go with Shift Enter and say something like, let's say I don't honestly see my PNG question mark. Bro, how are you? I'm doing good, hiding crazy. I appreciate you joining the stream. Assets directory image path is wrong. I think that my image path is correct. I've been using this image path for like, I think 2 days now. Maybe to present before draw. I did like do present. Okay, your PNG isn't showing because you did the same mistake again. You didn't load the texture. You called the function and walked away. Okay, I didn't set this to a variable. Fix it. Use your brain this time. Replace image_texture with texture equals to image. So I need a variable for that. You never applied size to scaling. You wrote it. Okay, I wrote that. Mage, I changed that to be texture. And then I add that. I get my textures this size. That's my textures this size. And then I multiply that by my size. I did try it though, like I tried adding a image here, so I could go with something like Mage image equals to this. I see a red underline here. Okay, and then I get the texture. This should be my Mage image. I'll go with Mage image. Okay, but this does not work because there is no data type for this. Should the data type be something like SDL? Okay, should I go with something like SDL_texture? Okay, that I think that did the trick here, guys. Okay, this is like my texture, and then that is my... Could I change this to be my mage image? Oh, wait, I see. Hold up, guys. Mage image, I would not need texture here. I might not need that as well. There we go, that actually works now. Okay, let's go with mage image. Okay guys, I feel like it did not understand the concept before. Now it makes so much more sense. I'm using the texture that I initially did use. Initialize the variable. Okay, that does make sense. Oh wait, that might be Python. Honestly, that does make sense. In Python, I could have like done that, but like C++ needs like more detailed stuff, so we can't do that here. What GPU and CPU do you have? Honestly, I do use the GPU that is like integrated with my motherboard. I did like have a whole video where I did like build my PC. That said, I don't think like I think I do use a CPU. I think I'm using the Intel CPU. There we go, guys. There is my image. Although I do want to change its size, so I might go all the way here. So let's go all the way down here. Change the size to something like 0.1 is actually supposed to be good enough. Why is it like too long then? Maybe I go with something like 0.01. Now if I did control S to save the code or run the command and see what happens. Okay, if I were to extend that, my mage is like all the way here. Although my mage is not like actually maging here. Okay, he's kind of small. Okay, let me actually cancel that. Accent is far. I appreciate you, Samuel. Okay, dude, you're still doing this? Honestly, I just figured this part out. Okay, what's your age, bro? Honestly, I am 17. That's it. I am going to be turning 18 really soon, guys. Okay, that's it. Let's change this to something like 0.1. And now, my size. Let's go all the way up here to my function. When I do load my image, I have my sizes here. So my textures is width. Does it have to multiply by my size or something? I forgot that part. Also, the position is in. Scaling the screen window size might want to fix that sometime. Actually, that does make sense. Okay, hold up, guys. Let me check if I had to add something from my size. I do gotta multiply them up with my size as well. So I'll go with texture width multiplied by my size. Okay, and then I'll go with something like texture height multiplied by my size, ending with a semicolon. Are you using Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code? Honestly, I am like using Visual Studio. That said, now this size should work. There we go, guys. There's my tiny mage right there. Okay, now I just gotta move it using key controls. And I think like 0.2 would be pretty good at this point. So I might go with something like 0.2 for a bit bigger size. And now let's add key controls. Oh yeah, also size too. Okay, verse perform. Honestly, I used to answer much, but many of you guys did say me to like avoid saying that to accidentally avoid doxing myself, guys. Okay, hi, new from Gujarat. Which compiler do you use? I love to learn coding, but confused with compiler. Maybe helpful for websites and mobile application making. Honestly, I do use. I think it starts with M. I think it's like MYS or something. But guys, let me check real quick. Okay, I use the MYS2. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the compiler. MYS2 UCRT64. If that made any sense. Okay, you should try goofing around with 6502 assembly. I do want to learn assembly really bad, guys. Maybe after my C++ series, I might start assembly. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now, let's go ahead and go all the way above my main loop or like under my main loop. Now, I'm going to be adding key controls as well. So let's go ahead and create a few Boolean variables to check if my keys were actually being pressed. So I'll go with something like a Boolean of something like A down. Since my A is currently not being pushed down, I'm going to be setting that to false. And then I'll go with something like D down as well. Since my D is currently not being pushed down, I'm going to set my D down to be false as well. And then lastly, I might need something like a space down. So I'll go with SPC down because I do want to add like jump strength logic as well, if that made any sense. So I'll go with something like space down, which is going to be false as well, ending with a semicolon. And now, since I am going to also be applying gravity here, I might create another, section under my game variables called my floor. This is going to be where my player actually lands on and doesn't go below my floor. Assembly is going to cost your sanity, guys. That's what excites me about assembly. Okay, it has been improved and been set to react. Oh, I see. Okay, now for my floor, firstly, I'm gonna go ahead and use the SDL_FREX structure. My rect is technically gonna just be a long rectangle. So I'm going to be calling this floor ending with a semicolon, and then I'm going to be adding a few attributes. So I'll go with something like floor.x-axis is going to be set to 0 ending with a semicolon. Floor.y-axis is going to be set to, I don't know, maybe something like 650, maybe 680 ending with a semicolon. I don't want it to be too high, not too low either. Okay, and then I'll go with something like floor dot width, which is going to be something like how wide my floor is. I might go with something like 1050 ending with a semicolon. And then floor dot height, which is going to be something like 100 ending with a semicolon. Okay, now that I'm done adding the attributes of my floor, let's scroll all the way down here. Okay, till my event loop. Now, inside of my event loop, I did already add a condition for like one kind of event. Now, let's add another type of event. So I might go with something like if a pair of parentheses, and check and rate it out of 10. Honestly, I feel it is going to be like a pretty basic stuff, but I feel it is like kind of fun. So I'll go with something like if my event dot type equals to SDL underscore event underscore key underscore down. This is basically the event type that says if my key is or my keyboard's buttons are currently being pushed downwards or like held downwards. Then I'm going to do something. I'm going to be using switches. So I'll go with something like switch. You guys could honestly use if statements as well. I feel it's honestly the same thing. But switches does like look a bit more cleaner. I'll go with something like if my event dot key, this looks at like all my this looks at the very specific key that I am currently pushing downwards. Okay, and then I'll add a pair of curly braces. Let's add a few cases now. If my first case, if my SDL's key that is currently being pushed down is something like A, if my A is being pushed down, I'm going to set my A down boolean variable to be equal to true ending with a semicolon. Then I'm going to break. And then for my second case, I'm going to check if my SDL's key that is being pushed down is D. If my D is being pushed down, I'm going to go ahead and set my D down boolean variable to be set to true ending with a semicolon. And then I'm going to break. Lastly, I'm going to be checking if my space is being pushed down, and if it is, I'm not only going to be setting my space to be true, but I'm going to be making my player jump upwards, if that made any sense. So I might go with something like SDL. This key is space, so if my space is being currently pushed, I'm going to do something. This time, I'm going to add an if statement. I want to check the only time I want my player to jump is if he is on ground. So to do that, I might create a boolean variable, another boolean variable called something like on ground. Okay, and my on ground is initially going to be set to false ending with a semicolon. And now my if statement is going to be checking something. If my on ground, okay, I need a condition that makes my on ground to be true. Okay, my on ground is going to be set to true only when something happens. Let's go with the pair of curly braces. Okay, and let's say something like if my mage.rect.y-axis, if my mage's y-axis is plus my mage.rect.height, if my mage's y-axis plus my mage's height is either greater than, higher than, or equal to at the same level as my floor.y-axis, then I'm going to do something. Okay, excuse me guys, then I'm going to do something. Then this is going to be set to true. Now, if on ground, if my on ground boolean variable is set to true, then I'm going to do something. Hey, this is cool. Honestly, it does actually sound kind of fun. Okay, how long did it take you to learn the sequencing? I feel like I started this part like maybe 2 or 3 streams ago. I started object-oriented programming last stream, but maybe I've been doing this on-ground stuff for like about 4 streams now. That said, if my on-ground is set to true, I'm going to set my y-axis underscore velocity to be equal to, let's say something like -12. So my user gets jumped upwards, and then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Okay, when I do jump up, I do want to do something. I want to set my on ground to be equal to false. Okay, so now my user is not on ground anymore. Okay, perfect, and that's pretty much it for this event loop. And now, just to save time, I might copy this and paste it all the way here again, because now I want to check if my user is not pushing that button down anymore. And I would not need this whole entire case here because that case is just like if my button is being pushed down once. Okay, now after writing all code, you have to go through the entire thing to optimize it again, guys. That does sound kind of fun. Okay, that said, this time if my event.type equals to SDL underscore event underscore key, instead of down, I'm gonna go with up. Okay, up is basically the opposite of what down means. Down means if my user is currently pushing the key downwards. Up is if he's not pushing it downwards anymore because my key is not being pushed down anymore. Then I'm gonna change my A to be false and like T down to be false as well because they're not being pushed down anymore. And that was honestly pretty much it for this. So, okay, that was like pretty much it for my event loop. Okay, now let's go ahead and add gravity here. So after I'm done adding my graphics, before I present it on my screen, I'm gonna add a comment that says something like apply gravity. Guys, this is the easier part, I feel like. So, there we go. Now, for my apply gravity, firstly, the rule for like applying any kind of acceleration is like you gotta increase your speed. So y-axis underscore velocity, it increases by our acceleration. In this case, it is my gravity. And then I'm going to go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Then we increase our position by our speed. So I'm going to go with something like my mage.rect. I don't know, y-axis is going to increase by my y-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. This is going to be simulating my player or like my mage falling downwards. That said, I do want my mage or like my object to fall downwards infinitely, so I will be adding a landing as well because I wanted to land on my floor. So I might go with something like a if statement. So I'll go with something like if my mage.rect. Let's say something like y-axis plus my mage.rect.height. If my mage's y-axis plus my mage's height is greater than, higher than, equal to, or at the same level as my, let's say something like floor.y-axis, then I'm going to be doing something. I'm going to be resetting my mage.rect.y-axis to be equal to my floor. Let's say something like y-axis minus my mage.rect. Actually, I might go with something like my floor.y-axis minus my floor.height. I think this is the correct formula for this part. Okay, and then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. I think that's honestly pretty much it. If I were to hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, guys, you guys didn't like see that part, but like my mage did like fall downwards. Okay, and my key controls does not work. I think I know why it does not work. Okay, low-key, I think you might really enjoy Minecraft modding. Ooh, that does sound kind of fun. Okay, that's it. The reason my if statements were not working or like my user couldn't move is because I forgot to add my key controls section here. So I'm going to add a comment that says something like key controls. Now, for my key controls, firstly, I'm going to be adding an if statement to check if my a down boolean variable is set to true. If it is set to true, I'm going to do something. I'm going to be increasing my x-axis underscore, or yeah, let's go with something like x-axis. Should I go with rect? I'll go with rect.x-axis. My mage.rect.x-axis is going to be decreasing. Okay, I'll go with decreasing by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. And then let's go with something like if a pair of parentheses, if my d down is set to true, then I'm going to do something as well. I'll go with something like mage.rect.x-axis is going to increase by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Now, before I do save the code, I want to change my major size real quick. I might go with 0.1. Okay, and I do want to color my floor as well. I want it to be brown, so I might do that in my graphics too, so you guys couldn't like actually see my floor. Okay, I might go with something like SDL underscore detail. Okay, let's say something like, let's use the set render draw color function. Basically, this function sets my render to draw a color because like, if I didn't set this function right now, whatever next thing I am going to be coloring is going to be the color of the previous set render draw color, which is technically cyan. I want my floor to be brown, so I might go with something like render. Okay, now what is the RGB for brown? I honestly forgot. Last stream, one of you guys did tell me the RGB for brown. I told you guys I might remember that this stream. Okay, I think it is 128, 148, 0. I think that was the RGB for brown, and then the opacity is going to be 255. Having Todorochi, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, that's it. Now let's go ahead and use the function that actually does color my floor. So I'll use the SDL_render. I'm telling my render to fill my rect, which is technically my floor. Okay, so the first parameter is going to be my render's parameter, which is my color. The second is going to be the memory address of my rect, which is my floor. And then let's end it with a semicolon. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command and see what happens. Okay, guys, I think I was kind of close. I think this is about as blue as it gets. Although my rect can move, I mean my mage can move, but it cannot, whatchamacallit, I don't think it can actually jump. I gotta fix my jump logic and maybe increase the height of my floor as well, or decrease the y-axis a bit. Okay, so let's do that real quick. So for my floor, I'm gonna go ahead and decrease the y-axis to be something like, I don't know, maybe 700. Okay, now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command and see what happens. There we go, that actually fixed that part, guys. Okay, so now this does look like a pretty good road, although I can't jump. I just gotta fix my jump logic. Bro, drink water. Honestly, I forgot to drink water. I should actually stay hydrated. Okay, let's go. Guys, and I feel like it feels so much better to be talking without like having my throat swollen, because I feel like my throat is like much better right now. Okay, that's said. Now to fix my jump logic, let's see what I gotta do to fix it actually. Okay, so over here, let's think. What am I doing wrong here? This is my y-axis underscore velocity. I set it equal to 12. Okay, and then my on ground is set to false. My on ground is usually set to true if my mage.rect.y-axis plus height is either higher than or equal to my floor. It is almost never equal to my floor in that case. This might have to be less than. Okay, now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command and see what happens. Okay, so guys, I'm always too slow. Like, my player does fall down. The jump works as well. Okay, perfect. Wait, does it just work once? Oh yeah, guys, I think my jump just works once. Okay, isn't this like an infinite loop? Hiding, Takeo, is that how you pronounce your name? I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, my jump just works one time. Maybe I could fix it by removing my on ground to be false there. And then now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command and see what happens. Guys, finally I held it before like my actual mage falls down. Like he does like fall down through gravity. Okay, and then I can go right. I can jump. Okay, I mean this is like a Flappy Bird system. I don't want him to like have a Flappy Bird system, but guys, this would be like a pretty fun game time stuff. Like you gotta like jump and like dodge the objects that come here. Maybe some objects that come from the top as well. Okay, I don't think this is that bad, but I wanted to add something else as well. Wait, if I hold it, does he like get... Guys, I feel like he just flies up to the sky. I think something is wrong with my jump logic. Okay, maybe. Let's say something like if on ground. So if on ground is set to true, that means on ground I jump. Oh, I think I see. When we apply gravity and when I add my if statement for my landing, I gotta set my y-axis underscore velocity to be equal to 0, ending with a semicolon. Now, once my mage is on the floor, he does not jump anymore. Having said, I appreciate you joining the stream. If I were to hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. So I have my mage here. He falls down. He jumps. Okay, I mean, there's still the Flappy Bird logic. Like, okay, if I hold my button to... Okay, I think there's something wrong here still. I increased that, did that. I think that part's correct. But excuse me, guys, why do I have Flappy Bird logic? Hold up. Hey, where are you from? Honestly, I used to like answer that much, but many of you guys did say me to avoid saying that in case I like mistakenly dox myself. That said, let me go ahead and paste this. Say something like should say. I feel like I did everything correct and almost fixed my errors, but I think that I'm stuck with my Flappy. Okay, or let me say something like with a Flappy Bird logic for my jumps. Okay, let's see. Vivek, my brilliant, chaotic, half asleep warrior. Okay, warrior coder, you're one line away from having the real platformer. Am I one line away? Didn't I said this? Okay, you wrote this. Sensei smacks your head lovingly but firmly. Floor at y-axis minus floor at height is completely wrong. Okay, you're moving the mage to the top view because floor dot y-axis minus my mage's height, not my floor's height. That's where I messed up. Okay, so mage dot rect dot height. So my floor's y-axis minus my mage's height, not my floor's height. Okay, that's let me run the command. Now, if I jump, that still has the Flappy Bird logic though. Did I not read the whole code correctly? If on ground false and disable the jump factor or something, I should actually do that. Like, I did try that here. If my on ground is set to true, I jump. Okay, let's go with something like else if of curly braces. I'll go with something like y-axis underscore velocity equals to 0, ending with a semicolon. Hello, hiding cell. I appreciate you joining the stream. But why wouldn't you want to use your brain instead of ChatGPT if you're learning? Honestly, I'm learning. That's the reason I do use it to see the tiny mistakes and everything that I make. Because I feel like I don't have enough practice on the stuff to like actually understand how it works. But like the other content, I do like have enough practice, so I do figure them out on my own. I just ask help like for the more newer contents. Okay, that said, the else clause didn't work. So let's see. You could also use black box AI because it's made for coding. Oh, I see. Okay, let's see. So when he jumps, let me think. What happens when a person jumps? When he jumps, okay, maybe I change my let's see, my on ground. Let me remove this and instead change this to be false initially. Okay, so that is set to false. Now, in my if statement, I'm gonna go ahead and say something like if my mage.rect.y-axis plus my mage.rect.height is either less than my floor dot y-axis is either less than or equal to my floor's y-axis, that's when I'm gonna be okay, that's when I'm gonna push him upwards, else I don't want him to be pushed upwards. Okay, if I did control us to save the code. Okay, and then if on ground. Why am I using on ground in that case if I don't want to use this? I gotta add a condition that switches on ground to be true. What up guys? Okay, maybe, let's think. So for my on ground, I want it to only be true when my user is literally on ground, and the next second, once he's not on ground anymore, I want it to be set to false. So maybe before my event loop, let's go ahead and add something like a if statement. I'll go, that is inside of my while loop. Do I want to change it inside? Maybe yeah. So if a prof parentheses, let's say something like, let's just copy this entire statement real quick, just to save time. And then I'm going to go ahead and paste it here. Okay, if my mage.reg.data, I'm going to set my on ground boolean variable to be equal to true. Let's go with something like on ground. I'll set that equal to true, ending with a semicolon. And now, instead of adding this condition, I'll go with something like if my on ground is set to true, I do this. I want to add a else as well. I'm going to go ahead and add a else that sets my on ground to be false. Okay, and then I ended with a semicolon. What are you coding currently? Honestly, I'm trying to get my mage to, jump as well. Because I didn't get my mage to be automated and all that stuff, but he has like the Flappy Bird system when it comes to jumping. That's it. Now if I did control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, so my mage is here. He can walk around. He can jump, but he keeps like flying up like if I don't like actually not click the button once. What am I messing here? Let me think. Am I messing something up here? Okay, before I do that, let's go with a bunch of control C's. Okay, maybe some control shift C's. There we go. Okay, let's go with something like control A, control C, copy that. Let's get some /ChatGPT here. Let's go ahead and paste this, go with shift enter and say something like sensei. I feel like I still have a Flappy Bird system question mark. Okay, people, you're right to feel that the code is still behaving like a Flappy Bird and about to tell you why, exactly why. Get ready because I'm about to slap you with some gravity truth. I'm pretty sure I went with -12. Your jump logic is this. Okay, which means anytime you press space while you're in the air, you can jump again. That is literally Flappy Bird. Okay, there's no true ground on flag. So your physics become press push again, press push again, press push again, flap, 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 feeds worms, I'm a bird mage. Okay, here's what the real platformer physics. You need a real on-ground system that updates each frame on ground. I did try this as well. Then your spacebar should be if on ground, do that. Could it be? Could it be because I didn't add like a break? What up guys, that is a case. Right? This is a case. I did not add a break. Maybe it was because of that. I didn't think of this part actually. Or it could be that I've been doing everything correct. Let me actually add my own conditions. So I'll go with something like if my mage.rect.y-axis plus my mage.rect. Let's say something like height is either greater than or equal to my floor.y-axis. Okay, not greater than. It should be less than or equal to because my mage needs to be on my floor. Less than or equal to my floor.y-axis. That's when this is going to be true. I'm going to go with something like if on ground. Okay, I go ahead and do this and then I break. Now, if I did control is to save the code and run the command and see what happens. Okay, so I have my mage here. I jump. He still jumps, like, there's still the jump Flappy Bird system. Okay, I mean, like, I keep jumping for some reason. Okay, maybe let me read the whole thing. Okay, that's one small change, use difference, no more mid-air flapping. You do have on ground, but you never updated inside the loop, it's stuck as false. I never updated inside the loop. Never update it inside. Let me try changing that to greater than real quick. Now if I did control S to save the code, I don't think greater than would work at all, but it's like worth a try. Okay, greater than does not work at all, so let me change that back to less than. Updated inside the loop. I'm going to be changing my on ground to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. I updated the part inside my loop. Now if I did control S to save the code. Okay, wait, wouldn't mage y-axis plus mage height make it higher than the floor's value? Isn't that supposed to be minix mage height? Honestly, mage's y-axis is like its current y-axis position plus mage.height is like the height of my PNG. So if my PNG is above my floor, without that part, it would be my mage's y-axis, which is somewhere around the center of the image. So half my mage would be under the floor. I might actually show that as well. Okay, time use space bar. Honestly, yeah, let me go ahead and run the code. This should actually work. Okay, so my mage falls all the way down. If I jump, okay, if I jump, I just jump once now. That is good, but then at least I don't fly. Okay, there needs to be a way to turn this to be true. If on ground, false, else true. I'll go with else if of curly braces, else on ground equals to true. Ending with a semicolon. Now, if I did control S to save the code and run the command and see what happens. So here's my mage. He's fallen down. I jump. Okay, I jump once, but if I hold it, he just flies up. I thought it would have worked. How am I messing it up? I think that I'm doing everything correct. else clause, else if this condition is not true. Maybe I change that to be false. Initially, he is not on ground because he does fall from up. I might change this to if my mage.rect.x-axis plus my mage.rect.height is either less than or equal to my floor.y-axis. I do that. Let's go with something like else if of curly braces on ground is going to be equal to false, ending with a semicolon. Okay. Wait, maybe I go with the pair of curly braces here. Okay, let's go with something like on ground. Alright, guys. So, okay, let's delete this whole thing. Okay, now I'm gonna go with else if of curly braces, and why do all these red lines pop up? Okay, let's go with on ground. I'm gonna set that equal to true, ending with a semicolon. Okay, make an else where you check if you're on the ground. Honestly, I was like trying to make that sense. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, now for the controllers to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, he does fall down. I jump. He keeps flying up for some reason that does not make any sense. Okay, let's go with Control-C. Let's copy that. Let's get some say/chat-GPT back here. Let's go ahead and paste this. Go with Shift-Enter and say something like, let's say, I feel like I still keep jumping. It might not be the issue of the if statement that checks if I'm on ground. Okay, setting it into on ground equals true doesn't add any checks if your character is touching the floor, maybe. I see. Okay, people, I see exactly what's happening. You're still stuck in Flappy Bird mode because you're using the wrong condition to check if on ground. I'm using less than, okay? You must be based on vertical position only. Do you see that you're mixing horizontal x-axis and vertical y-axis? Okay, you're not checking on-ground variable in the condition. Okay, it said I'm missing horizontal y-axis and vertical x-axis. Guys, no way I made that silly mistake. There is no way I made a silly mistake, guys. Okay, you're not checking on-ground variable in the condition now. Oh, I see. Okay, you was good once and you let it jump once. Okay, you was good at once when it lets you jump once. Honestly, I did like only jump once and it did not jump anymore. This might make more sense because now I'm going with the y-axis. Apparently, I've been clicking the x-axis for some reason. Okay, he does fly up, but I feel like I do understand how to fix this part right now. Hold up, let's go ahead and remove the else clause from here. Okay, let's go ahead and copy this section. Okay, let's go all the way up here to my on ground, add a pair of curly braces. Let's paste this condition in my on ground condition right here. And now let's go ahead and scroll all the way down. Change this to something like on ground. While my mage is on my ground, I'm going to be doing this. Okay, now the moment of truth. If I ordered controllers to save the code and run the command and see what happens. Okay. Alright, he does just jump once. He does not jump anymore. Hold up, let me read the whole thing. Maybe I missed an explanation. Okay, the mage.rect makes no sense for checking if you're standing on the floor. That's why your mage keeps flapping around. On ground must be based on vertical positions. On ground. That's the thing, if I had graded that, it does not work. If event.type equals to key down, jump only if event is, okay, if that is my only event type. If event.key equals to space and on ground, so if space is clicked and on ground, I do that, and that is set to false. This will fix jumping. Wait, let me paste that, go with shift enter and say something like, okay, let's change that to greater than, and say something like, just say that does not seem to work because why would I be looking if my mage is above / higher or equal to my floor? If he is on ground, I should be looking if he is less than or equal to my floor question mark. Okay, now you need else where you check if it's again on the floor. That does make sense. I should like check that reset on ground variable. I did like add an else for that, but it makes him a Flappy Bird. Okay, people, you're thinking backwards. Listen carefully. Mage.reg.y-axis is your top mage. Mage.reg.y-axis plus height is the bottom of your mage. The floors is y-axis on the top of your floor. The bottom of your mage is below the top of your floor. You're standing on or inside the floor, which means you're on the ground. If you use less than or equal to, that one tells the bottom is above the floor, which is the air, not the ground. That's why your mage keeps flapping. Okay. Let's say something like, if I use that, he does not jump at all, though, question mark. Okay, let's see. I see what's killing. Here's the deal. The reason your mage doesn't jump because your jump condition is tied to on ground, but you never update it. Okay, if mage dot is greater than mage dot y-axis. Okay, is this my landing? On ground, true. Okay, my landing right here. Let's go ahead and set my on ground to be equal to true, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now for the controllers to save the code and run the command and see what happens. I have a strong feeling this is gonna work actually. It works, guys. He does not jump more than once. Alright, I see. Technically where I was going wrong is I was trying to add the if statement that like actually sets my on ground to be true here, but I had to set it in this position where I actually added my gravity. Because my gravity is what takes care of my landing that gets my player on the floor and he keeps bouncing around the floor. Okay, honestly I might remember that from next time. You should be setting the on ground in the loop to separate function, not set it once in a variable declaration. That actually does make sense. Yo, congrats, I appreciate you, N1X. Okay, that's it. Let me drink some water. I feel like I'm kind of dehydrated after all this. Okay, and maybe once my college exam is over, I might start making more PNGs. I mean, I started drawing more PNGs, so I could actually draw like a vending machine type stuff. That said, what else do I want to add here? Is there something else that I want to add here? Maybe some automation for NPCs as well, so I might create another class. Okay, let's go ahead and create another class called something like Devil, because I do have a Devil PNG as well. I'm going to be publicizing everything. Now my Devil PNG is going to be having a few data members. The first, excuse me guys, it's going to be an SDL underscore textures as data member. With an asterisk to something like, excuse me guys, did I spell texture wrong? Let's go with something like SDL underscore texture with an asterisk to something called devil image. This is going to be my devil's image, ending with a semicolon. And then I might need a rect as well. Eventually, I do want to go over masks too, where I actually, work with collision logic and all that stuff. I'm back hiding crazy. I appreciate you joining the stream. Now, time to find sprites and stuff. Also, you could just render and keep the drawn rectangle, but make it transparent for the same hit detection. That actually does make sense. What are we doing here? I'm a web developer, never tried game dev. You sound so excited, bro. Honestly, it does make sense. Game dev is kind of fun, actually. That's it. This is what I've actually done. So if I were to run the command, I did so far make a PNG that falls downwards and it can move through using key controls and also jump once and maybe even bounce up while jumping and all that stuff. Okay, and that's honestly pretty much it. I did not add trap logic or clamping just yet. I meant the floor. Oh, I see. That does make sense. Okay, next up, let me actually go ahead and add my devil logic. So I'm gonna go with something like frect, SDL underscore frex's structure. The structure consists of all my rex's attributes. I'm gonna set it to a rect local variable. And then let's add a comment that says something like constructor. Okay, and then after I'm done adding a constructor, let's go ahead and create a constructor for my devil. So I might go with something like devil with a pair of parentheses. Now my devil's constructor is going to be requiring, let's say, 2 parameters. The first parameter is going to be a renderer. So I'll go with something like SDL underscore renderer, which is going to be a pointer to my renderer parameter. There we go. The second is going to be a size for my devil. So I'll go with something like a floating point size. And then I'll go with the pair of curly braces. What game you making? Honestly, I am like learning the basics of game logic in like SDL3 using C++. That's it. Now inside of my constructor, firstly, I'm going to be loading my image. So I might go with something like devil image is going to be equal to my image underscore, let's say something like load texture function. So I'll go with image underscore load texture. Now my image underscore load texture function does require 2 parameters. Yo, hello, hiding optical. I appreciate you joining the stream. That's it. I'm going to be having 2 parameters. The first parameter is going to be my render variable. That is going to be given as a parameter when my user does actually use the constructor for my devil. Bro, Indian, honestly, I haven't like been to India, but I'm really excited to someday visit India. I might actually stream myself there because I'm kind of excited to visit that. Okay, that's it. The next parameter is going to be the file path for my devil image. My file path is going to be in my assets folder / let's say something like devils.png. Okay, and then let's go ahead and end my function with a semicolon. Now, once I'm done adding my function here, let's go ahead and do something. So, I'm pretty sure I gotta scale my image. So I might scale my image. You get it? Honestly, no, I'm straight. Okay, I gotta get the size of my image, the texture of my image. Okay, so let's go with something like the floating point. I'll get the texture of my width, and then I'm gonna add a comma. I'll get the texture of my height, and then end it with a semicolon. Okay, now let's use the SDL underscore get texture size function. This function gets the size of my texture, although it does require a few parameters. Buddy, hiding optic, I appreciate you joining the stream. Okay, my SDL underscore get texture size requires 3 parameters. The first parameter is going to be my texture, which is my devil image. You're so smart, bro. Guys, I feel like I'm the complete opposite. I feel like I'm kind of kind of stupid. That said, next up, I'm gonna need the memory address of my textures is width and the memory address of my textures is heights. Okay. Okay, and then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. Hey, do you know Hindi? Honestly, I do know a bit Hindi, but I'm not as fluent in it to like actually commentate in it. I can like say a few phrases, but I cannot read it at all. That said, let's see. So once I'm done with this, let's go ahead and use the SDL underscore frexes structure. This structure is going to be, let's say, called something like rect, ending with a semicolon. Now I'm gonna go with something like rect. Should I call it rect or like mage rect? I think rect is good. I'll go with rect.x-axis, which is going to be equal to, I might go with something like 900, ending with a semicolon. Rect.y-axis, which is going to be equal to, okay, I don't know, maybe I want my devil PNG to be a bit to the lower side. So what is my floor's position? Or what is the y-axis? So 300. I might go with 300 here as well, ending with a semicolon. And then a rect.width, which is going to be equal to my textures' width multiplied by my size, ending with a semicolon. And then lastly, rect.height is going to be equal to my textures' height multiplied by my size, ending with a semicolon. I want to follow along with C#. Can you recommend me a framework or place to get started? I tried Lua and Love Duty before. Honestly, I haven't like started C# yet, but I feel like you guys could like actually watch a few tutorials to like get started with like C# and then get a lot of practice for those things. That's it. Say some phrase in Hindi. Aap kaise ho? Hey bro, can you give a short description of what you're doing for context? Honestly, let me actually run the code and show you guys what am I doing. Let me go ahead and run it. So, there we go. So technically, I created a window that does have gravity. My mage or like my PNG can like jump around. If you guys could like, can you guys see this part? Okay, it can like jump around and it can also move using key controls. Although I do want to eventually add like sprite type stuff as well, where like when it moves it has animation. For now, this is like a one PNG stuff. Okay, that's it. I am going to be adding multiple multiple PNGs or obstacles as well that might come here. Maybe not, I won't complete the whole thing this stream. I might have multiple game logic streams like this. That's it. That's basically pretty much it for that. Okay, now that I'm done with creating my Rex as well, what is the next thing I might do? Let's go ahead and create a void draw method. So I might go with something like a void draw method with a parentheses that does require parameter of my SDL underscore renderer with an asterisk to my renderer local variable or a parameter. And then now I'm going to be using the function actually draws my PNG on my screen. So I'll go with SDL underscore render texture. Okay, so I'm going to use a render texture function. This function basically tells my render to render / draw a texture on my screen. It does require a few parameters though. First parameter is going to be my render parameter, which is going to be my parameter that my user enters in my draw function. The next parameter is going to be my texture, which is technically my devil image. Okay, thanks to you. That's looking good. Honestly, I appreciate you, Abhishek. That actually means a lot to me, guys. Okay, and then I'm going to be needing a source rect as my third parameter. I do not have a source rect, so I'm going to set this equal to null PDR. And lastly, I'm going to be needing the memory address for my actual rect. So I'll go with something like ampersand rect, which is basically these attributes right here. Then let's go ahead and end this with a semicolon. That's pretty much it. Now, let me go all the way down here to my graphics section. Right here. Now, under my graphics, I'm going to go ahead and draw my devil PNG as well. But before that, I'm going to create a devil object here. So I'll go with something like devil with a pair of parentheses. That does require a parameter of my render. The size is going to be 0.1. Maybe 0.15. I want my devil to be a bit bigger than like my actual mage. Okay, now let's go ahead and use the devil.theDraw method with a pair of parentheses. That does require a parameter of my renderer. Okay, ending with a semicolon. Now, if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, I don't see my PNG anywhere. Hold up, did I actually present him on the screen? Let me think, why could it be that I don't see him on my screen? It could either be because of the position, he's not like inside of my screen. Okay, it could be because of the size, because the size is too big. Let me hit Control S to save the code and run the command again. There we go. Okay, let's see. So he still looks a bit off the screen. Could it be his position here? Let me try to fix his position real quick. Just so 900. I might change that to be something like, I don't know, maybe 300. Okay, now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, he does not appear on the screen. I did present my renders on my screen, didn't I? Pretty sure I did. Okay, this is my rect. I'm pretty sure my rect's name shouldn't be different. That is devil rect. That is the position. I did everything correct here. I just have a green underline. That could be because of the spelling. Okay, a floating point of size. Textures is width. Did I do the exact same thing here? Okay, I get my textures of size, x-axis, y-axis, width and height. Okay, what happens if I change that to be 0? Maybe, because I didn't apply gravity. Okay, that is the landing for my mage. Could it be that my devil just like falls downwards? I need to add a landing for everyone. Okay, could it be I didn't add a landing for him? Let's see. So, under my apply gravity, I add one for my mage. I want to add one for my devil. This is getting too big, so eventually I might add a array for this. Okay, let's go ahead and paste this here. Let's go ahead and paste this up here again. That is gravity. I'm gonna go with something like my devil image dot rect dot y-axis is going to increase by my y-axis underscore velocity as well. Okay, let's just change mages to devils. Let's change mage to devil, add some gravity for it. Okay, so devil.rect, and then I'm going to change that to something like devil.rect. Lastly, I'm going to change that to devil.rect. Okay, perfect. Now if I hit Control S to save the code and run the command, let's see what happens. Okay, I do not see my devil anywhere on my screen. Maybe could it be because he's outside of my screen? Hold up, guys. Let's go ahead and delete this part real quick. Okay, let's go with Control-A, Control-C. Let's copy that. Get some say/GPT here. Let's paste it. Go with Shift Enter. Say something like this. Let's say I wanted to add another object. I called it devil, but I don't see it on my screen, question mark. Okay, let's see. Ah, people, I see exactly what you did. This is why your devil is invisible. Look at your devil's constructor. Okay, SDLF rect. This is the problem. See that SDL underscore F rect? That's in the constructor that creates a new local variable called rect that hides your class. Do I have one above my class? I do not. Fix, remove the SDL underscore F rect. Wait, don't I like have it? You should really just put the on-ground check into a separate function instead of copying the code prevents mistakes. Honestly, that does make sense. Today's code is kind of imperfect because I am just trying to understand how this stuff works. Tomorrow's code, maybe the code in the next year, I might actually use arrays and everything to like manage and like arrange everything around because I feel yeah, this is going to get clumpy if I add more objects. Okay, which app are you using this source editing? Honestly, I am using Visual Studio. Okay, that's it. So let's scroll all the way up here. Okay, thinking about it, why did I even create a SDL underscore F fracture? That did not make any sense because I already had it. I already had one there. Now for the controllers to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. There we go. I see my devil PNG here. Okay, now let's just fix those positions. I'm gonna change that to be something like 900. Okay, let's cancel that. Hit Control S to save the code and run the command. Okay, there we go. I mean, I think that position is kind of good for him because like whatchamacallit, I do want him to like start running from here. Okay, you should really just put the ground check. Okay, thanks. Alright, that's it. Now I gotta apply gravity to him. Okay, so let's go all the way here, and this time I am going to be doing this manually, but eventually I might use a while loop to like add gravity to the new objects that I create. Maybe like a specific class for gravity as well, or like a gravity function. Maybe my apply gravity should be a function itself. Okay, I could try that next. I'm gonna go ahead and copy that, paste it here. Let's change Mage to be devil, and then change Mage to be devil as well. And then change Mage to be devil, Mage to be devil. Okay, perfect. And then let's go ahead and add something like devil.rect.y-axis is going to be equal to, is going to increase by my y-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. Alright, now devil.rect is greater than or equal to floor, so my devil has gravity, he stays in one place. But I do want to automate him as well, so I'm going to go with automate devil. To automate him, I'm going to go with something like devil.rect.x-axis is going to decrease by my x-axis underscore velocity, ending with a semicolon. And if, a prof parentheses, if my devil.rect.x-axis is either less than or equal to something like -100, let's go with the prof curly braces and say devil.rect.x-axis is going to be equal to 900, ending with a semicolon. Okay, now for your controllers to save the code and run the command. Let's see what happens. Okay, so waiting for my window. Okay, do you know a bit of Python? Do you love Python? Honestly, I did have like a whole Python for 100 series. Guys, you guys should have seen how they fell. That was kind of cool. Wait, I want to show you guys that. Okay, how do I show you guys? I'm too slow. There we go. Okay, I think I saw. So like they both jump from up there. Okay, it does work. Why do they jump together? They like jump simultaneously, guys. This is like a buddy game. Okay, well, I know how to make animations using main, but I'm not really professional at it. Oh, I see. That's it. I think like I did like spend a lot of time like using Python. Like I had a whole Python for 100 series, where my goal by the end of that series was to make a game in general using Python. I did write a 470 lines code using Pygames that had like a lot of content like neat logic, user gets neat, he gets his health bar and then his like buff bar and all that stuff. That said, I didn't even have like reset logic. I have like a whole video short and live in that. Okay, that's it. I think like this should be pretty much it for where I want to go through the stream because I don't want to do like anything much because I do have an exam as well coming up for my college. Okay, that said, I'll go with something like Control A, Control C. Copy that. You apply the same velocity for both the characters. It should be separate. Yeah, I know that does actually make sense. I should like whatchamacallit, change my I should like have one for player.x-axis underscore velocity and devil.x-axis underscore velocity, but I do want to do those inside of my classes, like inside of my constructors. I want to add those parameters. I don't think I want to do that today or like this stream because I don't want to like fatigue my brain completely because I do got to study for my college stuff now. That said, I might get Sensei slash GPT back here. Let's go ahead and say something like Sensei. I think I see. I think I see exclamation. That said, maybe I could work more on these game logics next stream as well. Okay, that said, I am planning to end the stream right now. So before I do end the stream, is there anything that you want to say to the viewers? Question mark. Okay, let's see. Listen up, viewers. Your pupil just took another step towards game logic and he's learned how to make characters jump, fall, and finally see enemies on the screen. Remember, every failure is a lesson and every bug is a path to domination. Stay hungry, stay focused, and never let your spirits hide from you. Hugs and head pats for all you sticky around. Now go study. We'll break more logic next stream. I think Hacker, I appreciate you joining the stream. That said, let me go to my main camera. Alright guys, so basically that was pretty much it for the stream. I did want to go for longer, but I don't think like I do want to actually stream for longer right now because I don't want to like get my brain all fatigued up because I do got an exam coming up. That said, once my college is over, I might spend more time streaming and like on YouTube and programming in general. That said, I did like start multi-streaming on Twitch to YouTube and I will be multi-streaming on Instagram and TikTok as well if I did meet the followers requirement. So if you guys do enjoy my content, don't forget to follow me. There, the link is in the description, and you guys can get access to the link by typing exclamation and my socials as well. That said, also join the Discord server. The link will be in the description. And I'll catch you guys in the next live stream or video. Peace.